Hello, my name is Lacey McClung, and in this presentation, I'll be walking through the emotional and psychological needs that people experience after a major disaster. We'll look at three important periods people go through: the heroic phase, the honeymoon phase, and the disillusionment phase, and explore how each stage brings its own challenges, risks, and opportunities for healing. My goal today is to give you a clear, human-centered understanding of what survivors need, what they might struggle with, and how helpers, counselors, and communities can respond effectively. The first period after disaster is often called the heroic phase. This is the phase most people picture when you think about disaster response. People running to help one another, rescuing neighbors, guiding children to safety, delivering food, cleaning debris, and doing whatever they can to stabilize the situation. Emotionally, people are running on adrenaline. They may feel energized, focused, and determined. Even those who normally struggle with confidence or motivation may feel a sense of purpose in this moment. Survivors often act quickly, instinctively, driven by the need to help and the desire to regain even a small sense of control. But beneath the surge of energy, many individuals are actually in shock. They may be confused or overwhelmed, and they may not fully understand the magnitude of what has happened. Their minds are often in task mode, which allows them to push aside fear, grief, or exhaustion. What people need in the heroic phase: physical safety and medical care, water, food, and shelter, clear communication, stabilizing support from responders and community members, gentle emotional reassurance, and encouragement to rest, eat, and pace themselves. A major challenge in the heroic phase is that people often ignore their own needs. They may work long hours, skip meals, and refuse to take breaks. Helpers, both survivors and volunteers, can exhaust themselves without realizing it. Because the atmosphere is so urgent, people may take unnecessary risks. They may climb through unstable buildings, drive through unsafe roads, or attempt dangerous rescues. Another challenge is that many survivors are still using denial as a short-term coping mechanism. Their minds may protect them from fully absorbing the depth of their loss, which allows them to function under pressure, but it also means they may not yet be emotionally prepared for what comes later. The heroic phase sets the foundation for recovery. People feel connected, supported, and united. Communities often come together in powerful, meaningful ways, but because this period is so intense, it can lead to burnout or emotional collapse once the adrenaline fades. After the initial chaos settles, many communities move into what is commonly called the honeymoon phase. In this stage, people often experience relief. They have survived. Help begins arriving from outside: volunteers, donations, government assistance, nonprofit support. There may be a renewed sense of hope and gratitude. People may lean on each other, share stories, and comfort one another, and begin to imagine rebuilding. For many, this phase feels like a period of unity and possibility. But for others, the honeymoon phase can become a crash point. Once adrenaline wears off, exhaustion often surfaces. People who spent days or weeks pushing through may suddenly feel depleted, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Some may begin experiencing sleep problems, sadness, irritability, or difficulty concentrating. For many, the reality of what was lost finally hits. What once felt like a temporary emergency now begins to look like a long-term crisis. Common emotional experiences in this phase include fatigue and burnout, strong grief responses, mood swings, worry about the future, struggles with patience and frustration, irritability towards loved ones or helpers, a sense of being overwhelmed. This is also the phase where past issues can resurface. Family tensions, financial stress, addiction struggles, and unresolved trauma may return or intensify. Survivors may begin to question how they will rebuild or how long support will last. Some may feel pressure to stay strong even when they're falling apart inside. What people need in the honeymoon phase is gentle, ongoing emotional support from their community and the people around them, opportunities to talk in small groups, reassurance that their reactions are normal, time to rest and process, access to mental health services if needed, and support with navigating paperwork, aid applications, and housing. This is a critical time for counselors, community leaders, teachers, faith leaders, and volunteers to pay close attention to the people around them. People who seem strong during the heroic phase may suddenly begin to unravel. Those who appear calm may start crying unexpectedly. Survivors may worry that something is wrong with them, when in fact these reactions are very normal. If support systems step in early through counseling, community gatherings, peer groups, and simple human kindness, many people can move through this period in a healthy way. After the honeymoon phase fades, survivors often enter the most challenging emotional period, the disillusionment phase. This phase begins when outside assistance starts to decrease, media attention fades, and the reality of long-term recovery becomes clearer. People may start noticing that progress is slower than expected. Funding may run out, paperwork may stall, volunteers eventually go home. Promises of assistance may not materialize. Families may face months or years of navigating insurance, rebuilding homes, finding new jobs, or dealing with disrupted routines. Meanwhile, the emotional toll of the disaster becomes heavier. Survivors may feel abandoned or forgotten. They may question whether things will ever return to normal. Common emotional experiences in this phase is frustration, anger, or resentment, hopelessness or discouragement, loneliness or isolation, deepened grief, anxiety or worry about the future, emotional triggers on anniversaries or reminders of the disaster. This is also the phase where more serious mental health symptoms may emerge. Individuals may experience trauma reactions, panic symptoms, depression, or chronic stress. Some may turn to unhealthy coping strategies such as substance use, avoidance, gambling, or withdrawal. Families may experience conflict, strain, or breakdown. For many, this is the lowest point in the recovery journey. But with the right support, this phase can also be a turning point toward healing. What people need during the disillusionment phase is long-term mental health services, trauma-informed counseling, support groups or community circles, practical assistance with rebuilding employment and housing, stabilizing routines, strong social networks, encouragement and acknowledgement of progress. Counselors and community workers play an essential role here. People benefit from seeing that their experiences are valid and that recovery is a long, uneven journey, not a failure on their part. Individuals and communities often need reminders that healing is possible even when progress feels slow. This phase continues until survivors begin to reestablish stability, such as steady housing, consistent routines, emotional grounding, restored connections, and new ways of finding meaning in life. Eventually, many survivors enter long-term recovery. This is when routines return, systems stabilize, and hope feels more realistic. Life may not look exactly the same as before the disaster, but survivors often develop resilience, new priorities, and a deeper appreciation for community. Some individuals even experience personal or spiritual growth, sometimes called post-traumatic growth. They may reconnect with family, reshape their values, or become helpers for others in need. Healing does not mean forgetting the disaster. It means finding a way forward with strength, compassion, and renewed purpose. It's important to remember that disaster recovery is not just about rebuilding homes or restoring electricity. It is a deeply emotional journey that unfolds over time. Each phase, such as the heroic phase, the honeymoon phase, and the disillusionment phase, brings unique needs and challenges. With understanding, patience, and long-term support, individuals and communities can heal, rebuild, and grow stronger than before. Thank you for taking the time to learn about this process and for the role you play in supporting those who are navigating the road to recovery. These are my references for my presentation. Thank you for your time.